What is the greatest comeback to an insult you've ever heard? My best friend. After an argument with some kid from our school in a shop, we began walking away down the street. Kid, where you going be? Friend, your mom's house. Kid, my mom lies the other way, idiot. Friend, nah, I meant your real mom. 80,000 IQ. Air traffic control doing a poor job of vectoring an Airbus A330 in for landing. Pilot, you've left us too high. I don't think we can make the approach. ATC, you've got speed brakes on that thing, don't you? Pilot, after a noticeable pause. Yes, but those are for my mistakes, not yours. A friend in high school on our way to a track meet. He was staring at a car in the parking that was really nice. When this bag saw him, bag, why bothering looking at that when you know you'll never be able to get one, my friend? The same reason you watch P. The entire bus erupted and it's still one of the funniest things I've ever heard. Game over, man. Game over. A dude in my class called out a semi-friend of mine that people are talking behind his back. In fact, that wasn't the case, as far as I know. And that guy said, well, you know what they say about you? Nothing. Nobody freaking cares. I'm just impressed that you're friends with a semi. So there was two girls fighting and one of them looks at my sister who was minding her own business and says, you go to heck too. My sister, do you want me to say anything to your mom? It's gotta be the aliens locker room scene for me. Hudson, hey Vasquez, have you ever been mistaken for a man? Vasquez, no, have you? That's what immediately came to my mind as well. English class in middle school. Kid A, yo, Kid B, your mama waited on me at McDonald's last night. Must feel like crap having a mom that works at McDonald's. Kid B, at least my mom gets out of bed to go to work. English teacher fell louder than he realized. Damn. The rest of us were laughing so hard, the teacher next door popped her head in to see what was going on. I love it when the entire class laughs enough to bother the teacher next door. Context. John Oliver from HBO interviews Stephen Hawking. May he rest in peace. J.O. And there may be a universe where I am more intelligent than you. There may even be a universe where you are funny. I lost count of how many times I've seen that video and it still makes me laugh. The whole interview is just hilarious. Overheard by me, the school bus driver, one 5th grade student was belittling a 1st grader. When it was time for a comeback, 1st grader shouts out, congratulations. The bewildered 5th grader had nothing to say and went to sit down with her friends in the back of the bus. Okay, that's kind of freaking adorable. Joe Pine interviewing Frank Zappa. Joe, I guess your long hair makes you a woman. FZ, I guess your wooden leg makes you a table. Many years ago, when we were about 18, a friend of mine was arguing with another person we knew. This person was trying to be a badass and intimidate my buddy. He says my feet are registered. Without missing a beat, my friend replies, where? Health and sanitation. 40 years later I still crack up at this when it comes to mind. A guy makes fun of his bald friend by rubbing his head and saying, wow, your head is as smooth as my wife's bottom. The friend also rubs his head and says, wow, you're right. That had to hurt. I asked my mother why she always wears makeup despite being in her 40s. She told me she wears makeup so she doesn't look like me. Savage. I used to work with this like 70-year-old woman. She was our supervisor, and one day one of the ladies who worked with us told this old lady to kiss my butt and the old lady replied, where do I start? You're so fat your crack goes all the way up your back. During World War I, Switzerland had a tiny standing army, but they were very skilled marksmen. Wilhelm II of Germany asked what 250k Swiss troops would do if he decided to invade with 500k German troops. The Swiss said, shoot twice and go home. Switzerland is actually neutral now in part because they were such good fighters. Many European countries hired Swiss mercenaries to fight for them. At least, that's what I heard in a YouTube video. 18th century British radical politician John Wilkes was told in Parliament by a political opponent, sir, I do not know whether you will die on the gallows or of the pox. Wilkes shot back with, that depends, my lord, on whether I embrace your lordship's principles or your mistress. Imagine hitting someone with such a burn that people are discussing it 250 years later. If you weren't so stupid, what would you be, asks the husband. The wife replies, without even skipping a beat, single. Haha, love it, nice one. I was the one insulted, but not the one with the comeback. I was out with a co-worker and her friends, and my buddy and I were leaving a little too early for her sensibilities. She jokingly got up in my face and said, "Smell that? Smells like PA." Guy playing at the pool table next to us stepped forward and said, "I'm sorry, that must be me. I just ate. It was amazing." Smooth. Goddamn. Definitely a great comeback, but not to an insult, more to an annoyance. I was a camp counselor for a few years at a summer camp. One day my group took a hike to a large rock where we had lunch. My campers were between 8 and 10 years old. This one kid we'll call Jeff keeps poking another kid we'll call Matt in my group to look at this hole in the rock. It's so cool, it's like 6 inches deep, and the other kid is clearly getting annoyed just trying to eat his lunch. He keeps shoving sticks into the hole and trying to get everybody to look at it. Finally Matt just puts down his sandwich, looks at Jeff, and goes, "I'll be 6 inches deep in your mom later if you don't shut up." I was trying so hard to be stern with this kid for saying something so inappropriate, but I kept cracking up. It was just such a disproportionately ridiculous thing to say coming from a 9-year-old. To be fair, those are impressive numbers from a 9-year-old. My grandma got into a fight at the grocery store with a guy who told my 9-year-old brother to move the frick out of the way. They were going at it and his final words were, "Suck my dong, B." She said across the store if I could find it. B. Grammar don't play. There's a story about Margot Asquith, a British socialite and author, meeting Jean Harlow and correcting Hollow's mispronunciation of her first name. No, the T is silent, as in hollow. Chelsea Handler told Russell Brand, "The way you are looking at me makes me want to cover my vagina." He replied, "Mom, if I had a rubber glove, I'd do it for you." Crowd burst into laughter and she even acknowledged that was good. My grandparents used to bicker. My grandmother generally came out on top, as she was farier. One time though, she was asking him to do a bunch of stuff, and he muttered, "If you'd lose some weight, you could do it yourself." She fixed her gaze on him, and glad I'm thinking of getting rid of about 200 pounds of useless fat immediately. He replied, "You're going to cut off your foot?" Man, nobody, because like old married couples bicker, they've had decades to perfect their craft. On a construction site one afternoon, different trades were working in the same area. Like silly team sports, the Sparkies always hang with the Sparkies and the Turd Wranglers always hang with the Turd Wranglers, and anytime they are together it turns into a pointless dong measuring contest. Usually not literally. One particularly childish exchange saw two men chopping back and forth, "My dong biggest, blah blah blah." Finally one of them spits out this classic, "I've got girth like a can of corn." And the clap back was unforgettable, "But you've got length like a can of tuna." Everyone busted up. Mr. Girth tried to hide his embarrassment, but was tied up. No comeback, and a room of men laughing uncontrollably. Good times. I must know the other names for the rest of the trades. Saw a clip of a stand-up comedian the other day, and he says something along the lines of, "The first time I had sex it was terrible. The first time I had sex." And a woman chimes in with, "You mean yesterday?" Crowd laughs for a while, and while the comedian is waiting for them to calm down you can see the gears turn in his head. Once it gets down to basically a few chuckles, he just says, "Glad you remember," and the crowd just lost their crap. It was amazing. Okay, now we need the source of this clip. A friend of mine was getting bitched at by these two identical twin girls in a class I had once. He replied with a troubling look on his face and said, "If you two are identical, how come only one of you are hot?" That dude played the long game as those two girls looked rather perplexed for the rest of the session. Fixed. I have something similar. Have a group text made up of 5 people. It's called 3 of my favorite people. Glenn McGrath, Aussie cricketer, got frustrated with Ed O'Brandis as his every attempt to stump Brandis failed. This is what happened next. McGrath: "Why are you so fat?" Brandis: "Because every time I frick your wife, she gives me a biscuit." On an Indian roast show, there were 2 bald twin brothers and the roaster told them, "You two confuse me on a biological level. You two look like testicles but you are both buttholes. I am still waiting for an opportunity to use that. Not heard, but read. Easily the Spartans reply to Philip II of Macedon. As Philip II of Macedon was conquering Greek city-states left and right, Sparta was left alone. Philip had achieved a crushing victory, and Sparta was relatively weak and without walls. Philip sent a message to the Spartans saying, if I invade Laconia you will be destroyed, never to rise again. The Spartans replied with one word, if. This is actually where the word laconic came from. One of my co-workers was cold calling customers, trying to get appointments to drum up business. One of them told him to go frick his hand, and he responded with, I've got that penciled in for 3. I should be done by 4 if you'd like to come in for an appointment. Then the guy laughed his butt off and ended up coming in for the appointment. Mayo at this wild butt telling random people to go frick their own hand. I was bullshitting with a couple of buddies and may have suggested that I banged one of their moms, to which said friend replied, my mom's dead. My mouth bypassed my brain and replied, that explains the dirt. Jesus dude, she was already dead. Bravo. This happened about 5 years ago now. There was this one annoying kid in my math class in high school, being loud, ignoring the teacher. He was mixed race, only bringing this up because it's related. He's talking rather loudly with a guy next to him. Teacher tells him shut the heck up. Kid makes a point that he's half black and being mean to him is racist. Some stupid crap like that. Teacher looks him dead in the eyes and says, I was talking to your white half. Stupid, hands down my favorite teacher. My grandma asked my cousin, who'd had lots of partners and 2 kids at this point, if she was ever going to get married. Cousin, it's not the same nowadays. We don't buy cars without test driving them first. Grandma, yeah, but they don't let you put 100,000 miles on them either. Point goes to Granny. I have a bunch, but one of the more memorable ones was back in 8th grade. For context, I didn't make the basketball team 7th grade, but I made the team in 8th grade. This kid that was on the team the previous year but didn't make it currently was really upset and telling me how bad I am and blah blah blah. I told him that if he is better than me then why didn't he make the team, and he replied with, it's just cause of my grades bro. So I replied with, oh so you're just freaking stupid then? He gave up cause it was either accept that he was bad or accept he was an idiot, so checkmate. I was 14 or 15 and had a quiet nerdy friend with really bad acne. My older brother had these 3 friends, all brothers 2, 3, and 4 years older than me and my friend. They were all gangsta and started their own gang, which I always thought was really funny. Me and my friend walked in the front door. My brother and his friends were all sitting at the TV playing Halo. One of the brothers looked at my friend and said, holy crap Sam, I got 2 words for you ACNEE pad. Sam replied, cool, and I got 2 words for you Johnny. Speech therapy. The guy had a pretty bad stutter. He jumped right up and started trying to fight my friend. As long as I could remember after that he wanted to fight Sam, but we just ignored them. I don't know why this stuck with me for so long. It was such perfect delivery and shutdown of a bully. That's a genius Lumfeo. Come on, stop telling me how to live my life. I don't tell you how to live your life. It's not like I come down to the docks at night, knocking the sailors' dongs out of your mouth. Jimmy Carr puts down hecklers like a gentleman boss. I can't remember the best one I've heard, but I can remember the best comeback I ever did. It is also, in fact, the only good comeback I ever did. I was in 7th grade, and we were in the locker room after gym. People were discussing shoe sizes because this one kid had enormous feet. I don't know if I have small feet, but mine were the smallest. They said, small feet, you know what that means. I didn't mind too much, but one kid crossed the line. He said, don't worry, fella, there's like 10 different ways to make it bigger. So I said, have you tried all 10? Not very impressive, but it shut him up. You peaked so early. In class someone used the F slur on someone and he replied with, I'm probably as straight as the pole your mom dances on. I work at a hotel. A few years ago this guest got into a spat with our security officer over something, but she wasn't getting whatever she wanted so she told him he was full of S. Our security officer replied immediately, no I'm not, I took care of that this morning. But thank you for your concern for my good health and regularity. At this time I was about to bust up laughing, so I had to excuse myself to the back office, and as I was leaving I heard him continuing on with this lady, deadpan. But I promise I eat a healthy diet full of fiber. It warms my heart to know you're concerned with me having regular bowel movements. So the next time I'm constipated I know you're thinking of me. It continued on, and all the more he's playing this deadpan and it's making the lady madder and madder, and I'm in the back laughing so hard I'm nearly crying. After that spiel was over though, she didn't give us any more problems the rest of the night. I have also worked in a hotel. Sometimes you gotta just double down and out crazy the crazy. You know those people who tell you to be yourself? Don't listen to them. He's come up with more creative insults, but this is the most memorable. Back in high school, I was in the orchestra. We went on several big national trips each year. One year, a group of upperclassmen were busted for pot in their hotel room. Everyone except one guy was suspended and prohibited to attend future trips. The one guy who wasn't in trouble apparently hid in the shower and played dumb, and they believed him. So a week later the entire orchestra is practicing with the teaching assistant when our conductor enters the practice room, and in front of the entire 114 members of the orchestra, says Jason, "All your friends ratted you out. They're mad. I'm mad. You played me like a fiddle." "That's what I play," Jason replied, raising his violin. I went to Catholic school and the teacher said there's a special place in heck for people like you, and I said back, "See you there." 1. Back in the day, being openly gay could be downright dangerous, but George didn't really gaff. Someone called him a queen and he responded, "I'll have you know, my mother is still alive, which makes me a princess." 2. Once worked a Karen who was actually named Karen. In addition to being a BTCH on wheels, she was also next level morbidly obese. One day, I was on the phone with one of our clients who, in the course of the conversation, complained about her to me. I took the complaints to our team lead. She said, "Yeah, I get a lot of complaints about her, but she says the clients don't like her because she's heavy." Before I could stop myself, I shot back with, "But Joe, if I were blind I'd still think she's a BTCH." Gandhi after a reporter asked him a question. Reporter, "What do you think of Western civilization?" Gandhi, "I think it would be a good idea. In middle school a boy asked when I was going to grow some boobs. So I asked him when he was donating his. I'm still really proud of that one. Damn, this is good. The greatest comeback I witnessed was when Kumail Nanjiani was on Mean Tweets and someone asked, "Is your dong multiple colors?" And he said, "Yes, every shade of your mom's lipstick." Throwing shade. If you are new to the channel, you can subscribe. I publish new videos every day. Until then, check another video. Bye for now.